Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you know that, folks. When we made that move to 5 days a week, and I know I've said this a couple of times to you, but I can't believe the way you showed up. I really can't. You did a fantastic job of just propping us up and helping us to grow. When I made the move to 7, I really was worried, but man, you guys came through. I mean, like absolutely nobody's business. And now our Sunday episodes are among our best. And that is because of you folks. And you're amazing. So thank you for everything you're doing. If you're not out there doing what you're doing, I don't get to sit here and do what I'm doing. And I'm living the dream right now because of you. So thank you to all of you folks. If you're a friend of the program, and I know you are, you know what time it is. We got to pay a couple of bills. So let me take a sip of my preferred beverage. Man, that stuff is delicious. Absolutely fantastic. And if you're a fan of the program, you know what we're drinking. Folks, it's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Go check them out and look them up. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. They brew a mean cup of joe. It's absolutely fantastic cup of coffee. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans, which you all know is incredibly important to us here at the Power Man Podcast. Folks, if you're a veteran out there, we thank you for your service. We love you, and we're really glad that you found a home here with us. Love our veteran contingents. So, folks, thank you so much. Let's keep moving. Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them Power Man sent you. Now, I'm going to get one more good sip of this so I can keep up with this young buck on the other side of the table from me. Oh my gosh, there we go. All right, we'll be drinking that throughout. All right, this guy is ready for business. I'm telling you right now, he looks very serious, even though he's smiling to me. Right, he's ready to rock and roll. Please welcome men's action life coach Maxim Shapiro. Maxim, how you doing, brother?
I'm great. Grateful to be on this podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, man. When I first heard about you and started looking into you and reading what you were doing, I loved it. I loved everything that I was reading. All the stuff that you're about just really rang true for me, for a lot of my listeners, I'm sure, and for just what we do here on this podcast. So I'm really happy to have you here. And I know we got a lot to get into. And so why don't we just start? Maxim, tell everybody, who you are, what you're about, and kind of what got you here today.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So I am, among other things, a life coach focusing on working with men. I live in the Bay Area, but I work with men everywhere, so it's not limited by geography. And the reason I chose to work specifically with men is I am a man, for one, and for two, I feel like we need more help. Uh, I think that, and it's a good thing. There's plenty of help available for women, and there's a lot of businesses and coaching, et cetera, targeted for women, which is as it should be, but you don't see as much out there for men specifically. And I want to make sure that we're getting what we need. And I think there's definitely aspects of what we need as men that we're not getting today and that we can help each other with. As far as my own past and experience, I mean, coaching and coaching men really speaks true to me because I feel like I've lived kind of the type of life that I want to help other men not live. And what I mean by that is for probably like the first 40 years of my life, I did not, I didn't have a lot of purpose. As I look back, I really was not challenging myself the way that I could. And I knew that deep down. I don't think that I didn't admit it to myself consciously, but I subconsciously absolutely knew it. And it was affecting me very seriously. I was depressed for a lot of those years. Just, didn't, I was not very emotionally mature. And I think, like, quite literally, the fact that I was not giving my all to life and that I knew it was killing me. And thankfully, someone came along who changed my life, and cared enough to really like hold my face in a very firm kind of way up to the mirror and say, look at yourself for real. And this is the person you are. I know who the person is that you tell yourself you are, but that's a lie. Look at who you really are and deal with that. And it was the first time in my life that I really dealt with who I was and who I wasn't being for myself and, for everyone else, quite frankly, and started getting to work. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done and the hardest thing, but it was the best thing I've ever done. The only thing that's scarier and harder would have been to stay the same because that was definitely killing me.
Mm.
So it's a little bit about where I've come from and happy to go further into it and whatever.
Sure. Yeah. That's a big thing to make that differentiation of who you actually are and who we convince ourselves that we are. That is a huge, huge step for men to take just to realize that kind of thing. Most men don't get help with that. Now, you got some help. You had someone really influence your life. Do you mind talking about who that was, how that happened, and how they ended up coming in your life?
Yeah, it's a woman. We were actually recently broke up, but we were in a relationship together for 8.5 years. And yeah, like I met her through a mutual contact, and like had no idea that she would blow blow my mind and my world the way that she did. Uh, and it wasn't even an introduction for romantic reasons, but turned into that. But really, like the thing that attracted me to her was she was the most alive person I had ever met, and she made me feel alive. And I think I was very much missing that. Like I very much did not feel I was not excited about my own life. I think I was like, yeah, I was thinking about this earlier today, probably because I was subconsciously getting ready for this podcast, but I was not interested in my own life. Like I found my own life uninteresting, which is terrible if you think about it. Like that's
Yeah.
where depression comes from. Like if you are not interested in your own life, if you're not doing things that interest you, then you're going to be bored with your own life and your life is the only thing that you're living. So if you're bored, like, can you imagine a fish being like not liking water? That would be that would be a miserable fish because
Right.
that's all that they're surrounded with. Like if your life is what you're surrounded with. And if you don't like it, that's a terrible place to be. So yeah, she she was not that way. I met her and she was like the opposite of me. I honestly don't know what attracted her to me. I have no, I don't know. I'm being dead
Yeah.
serious. I don't know why this woman looked at me and said, "Yeah, this is a guy that I'm attracted to." But she did, and I'm glad that that happened. And I think, like, I just realized, like, she was like you know, a golden ring, like, and I was like, I'm just going to grab onto this and hold on, whatever it takes. So because I knew that, like, she had something special, and that I wanted to be associated with that. And she was uh, a very, in a way, kind of brutal taskmaster. She was the most honest person I'd ever met. And she told me very honestly, like where she thought I was falling short. And for the first time in my life, I started to listen. That was really, I think, what was like the special thing about it it's not like nobody had ever criticized me before. I just didn't know how to take criticism well. And for whatever reason, her, the combination of qualities that she presented had me start to listen. I was also in a place where, quite frankly, like I was desperate. Like I was unhappy and I didn't want to keep being the person I was being and living the way I was living and feeling the things that I was feeling. And and so it was like, I'm willing to try anything. And like it doesn't matter how difficult it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. So basically, I met her. I was living on the East Coast. I had spent most of my life on the East Coast. Um, and she was in California, actually here where I am now. And basically, and I had never been in a relationship that lasted more than a year before. And so, and I had been on medication for depression, anxiety and depression for like 10 years. Uh, and I had never worked for myself. And so basically, I within like a year of meeting her, I had decided to uh, quit my job uh, on the East Coast, move to California, where I had never lived. I didn't know anybody here. Um, I ended up starting my own business. I went off meds and I got into a relationship with this woman. So all these things that I had been
Wow.
afraid of or hiding from my whole life, I just did it all at once. And it was intentional to do it that way because I felt very much like I had I had kind of like been putting off all of these type of maturing changes for my whole life. And I felt very much behind.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm just going to jump into the deep water and hopefully I'll learn to swim. But I was very clear that this is what I needed to do to gain respect for myself. Like in a way, it kind of didn't matter how things went. Like the important thing was trying because my whole life that I had kind of prevented myself from really trying, you know?
Wow.
Um, yeah.
How
So
long? How long were you with this lady altogether?
8.5 years. We broke up like two months ago. Yeah, but
Wow.
we were in a
Okay.
relationship for 8.5 years.
All right.
So
Well, sorry that that ended that way, but it sounds like it had a profound impact on you.
yeah,
Yeah, you threw a lot down there. Let me unpack a little bit of it here.
yeah.
First of all, I'm glad to hear that you're from the East Coast because when you told me you were in California, I was like, really? You don't seem like a West Coast guy. Now, do you
What
seem
is
like an
that?
East Coast guy?
You know what?
Oh,
I'm
yes.
gonna respond to that. But what is that? What
That's
does
a
that mean?
compliment. That's a
I
compliment.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to say this. I want to say this because I have to support and represent California. There's a lot of misconception, and I know this having been an East Coaster my entire life, like most of my life. I mean, I think there's a lot of misconception in the country all over the place, right? Specifically when it comes to California. I never realized how much people love to hate California before I moved out here. But I will say this in its complete sincerity. Californians, in my experience, are the toughest people I have ever met. And I think, and also, if you're coming from the East Coast or other parts of the country that are more conservative than you think California is, there's actually a lot of conservative people in California. There's all people of all types in California. And anyway, so I just have to represent like there's a perception of what California is, and then there's what it really is, and they're not the same. And I think it's that way everywhere. But anyway,
Gotcha. All right, man.
yeah,
Yeah, you come off like you have that East Coast attitude about you. And that's just kind of it takes one to know one. I was born in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, lived in New Jersey. You know, it's so it's there's an East Coast quality that people have, and you just can tell when someone's from the East Coast. That's all. You know, nothing against California people. It's all fine.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of California people on my show,
Yeah.
so they don't have that East Coast gene that I think we get. Like once you live there, your DNA has changed. So I don't know what to tell you. But no, anyway. So like I said, I'm just unpacking a lot of this. I'm curious I mean, to get back to the topic, and I apologize for getting off uh, track, but this lady, you know, that you were with, she had this profound effect on you. Did she have some sort of training in this, or was she just like a type A, throw down, totally honest? If you're going to be with me, this is, you know what I want to see from you, type of thing. Because I'm just trying to understand the story. It sounds like it
Yeah.
was a huge impact.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, other than my parents giving birth to me,
Mhm.
the most, important relationship of my life, like
Wow.
beyond a doubt. And to answer your question, a little bit of both as far as the training versus personality. She herself is also a coach, uh, and she also has a very unique personality. Like I've never really met anybody like her, like the level of directness, and also like a very intuitive person who actually listens to her intuition. Uh, and so yeah, she just had the the gumption to tell me things that nobody would ever tell me. I will say this too. She's Eastern European, which I think that matters. Like I had a very, I think, powerful realization. Uh, what you want in a relationship, I think, is someone who is willing to criticize you, who tells you really what they think about you, and then gives you time and the opportunity to kind of change to to you know address the things that they're saying to you, which is not to say that you have to change just to be like a person wants you to be, but like if you're in a serious relationship, you're gonna have criticism back and forth, you're gonna have feedback. And like I think one of my problems from a lot of my life was I just was not uh, tough enough to handle like serious feedback. And I mentioned the Eastern European thing for a couple reasons. There was a woman that I actually went on a couple of dates with, like a few years before I met this woman. And she also is I'm actually Eastern European. I was born in the Soviet Union, and my parents are Eastern European. So my whole family is Eastern European. But uh, so this other woman was Eastern European, and like we would go on these dates and I would think everything was fine. And then she would send me these emails just like trashing like how I treated her and my demeanor and all this kind of stuff. And I can see now in hindsight that she meant well and she was trying to help me, but I couldn't really hear it that way just because I was quite frankly just not that attuned to myself and not very emotionally tough.
Hmm.
Um, and she probably overdid it too early. Like, she didn't really wait until we, had established any kind of relationship before leaning in. She just led with that the whole time, and it kind of threw me off guard. But what I've really come to realize is, I think if you're a man, one of the things that you really want in a woman is someone who is willing to be honest with you. And, not like in an abusive way, but because they want to make the relationship better. And then, gives you a chance to address the things that they're talking to you about. And it just
Hmm.
so happens, I think, that non-American women tend to be the best at that. And, not to say American women can't, but I just think that kind of your quote unquote typical, rather, whether it's Eastern European or South American woman, just women from different parts of the world, I think allow themselves to, quote unquote, complain more or whatever. They're just more honest about their feelings, right? And they'll tell you up front what they really think and what they, and because they're telling you what they want. And they kind of have, I think they have high expectations of men, and they have like high standards for themselves.
Hmm.
Uh, and uh, and so I think if you're like a typical American man, 'cause a typical American woman doesn't act that way as much. And I know I'm making huge generalities,
That's okay.
and I don't mean to offend anybody. And I'm aware that everything I'm saying is very general, that like there are obviously exceptions to everything. I'm just trying to communicate and make a point. So if I offend anybody, I apologize. Um, but so I think many American men, when they're faced with that type of behavior, like that's why a man will call a woman, quote unquote, high maintenance, right? Because she communicates a lot how she feels. But and if you think about it, that's actually good. That's what you want. That's not high maintenance. It's actually low maintenance because you don't have to guess what she's thinking. She'll tell you,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, I've gone off on a whole thing about culture, all this kind of stuff. But point being, like, I think, and because we're talking about men, and I'm talking about myself personally as well, up to that point in my life, I had shied away from those types of women because, I told myself it was because, they just like were too aggressive, or like, I just didn't like their personalities. But the point was, I actually couldn't handle it. I wasn't tough enough to handle it. But if you're, I think if you are a man who really wants to get the best out of himself, then searching for those types of qualities in a woman, in a partner, whatever, is very important. You want somebody who, it's both things. It's A, is able and willing to tell you the truth as they see it, and B, doesn't just say it and then leaves and just, drop it on you. Okay, well, because you're not perfect, I'm leaving. They understand you're not perfect, and they're going to give you time to work on yourself. Like, though, if you can find that combination, really, in like, whether it's romantic or business or you name it, like that's a wonderful combination. And so I kind of started to appreciate that when I got into this relationship.
Okay. And the reason that we're talking about this, obviously, is because, those qualities that she had are a lot of what led you to making the changes that you wanted to make in
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I appreciate that. Appreciate you going, down that road. I guess to maybe put a fine point on the conversation about women, let me also say, you're not going to offend anybody on this show. No, not at all. But the intent, I think, behind the criticism is huge. A lot of Eastern European women, from what I've been able to garner, especially just from interviewing them on podcasts, they are critical. They are very outspoken about what they want, and very, definite about what they want and what they won't accept. But it's for the end goal of getting what they want. And when they get what they want, they're quite happy with that. Whereas in a lot of cases, you end up, especially with folks here in the States, you end up with folks who are doing that complaining for the sake of doing the complaining. And then even when the change happens, we just find something else to complain about. So that's kind of where guys get stuck, I think. But the intent matters.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, or absolutely not?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. You want somebody, and I mean, like, honestly, if you're mature enough, then you're going to find value in any criticism that's leveled at you. Even if it's not well intentioned, even if somebody's trying to be mean, like I can, if I like, when I'm in a good place, um, like somebody can be mean to me and I can still kind of be like, okay, well, is there any truth in what they said?
Hmm.
Let me look at myself.
Right.
Like, when we get criticism, when somebody says something to us that we don't like, it can be hard to be like, well, let me see if there is any truth, even though that person might have been a jerk or I don't like how they handled it. Let me see, because ultimately that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to me is my self-improvement. I am always aiming to be the best that I can be. So every day, every minute, I'm trying to improve the quality of my character. And so if somebody has criticism for me, there can be a gift in that, even if they're a jerk in the way that they present it. It takes a level of character and maturity for me to look past the messiness of the presentation and be honest with myself and say, okay, well, maybe I don't like how it was presented to me, but is there any truth in that? And because if there is, that's what I want to address for myself. That person doesn't matter. Like I can leave that person be. I might never talk with them again, but they might have just given me a gift and let me not overlook that because my ego is hurt because I don't like how they did it.
Sure. I agreed. 100%. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, Let me go back to your story a little bit, just for a second. You talked about kind of living in a depression and battling anxiety and really not having any purpose. First question that I have on that is most of the time when I hear someone talking about a story like that, they see looking back that that's how they were. Hey, here I am now. I'm in a much better place. And looking back, I can understand now that I was in this haze and I was depressed and so on. Did you understand that you were in that state when you were going through it? Or did it take you getting out of it a little bit to start to look back and go, wow, I was really, depressed and didn't have any purpose back then?
Yeah, I definitely knew I was depressed because I was diagnosed with depression and I was on medication I was on antidepressants. So I definitely knew that. I think that, I mean, now getting out of it, I can look back and see more clearly what I was doing to put myself into that state. And what I can say about it is that so my interpretation of depression, and this is not necessarily what you'd get from a psychiatrist or whatever, but
Sure.
it's from somebody who lived with it for a long time, and so I think it's very valid. So you hear a lot of people talk about anxiety, right? Oh, I suffer from anxiety. Here's the thing, this is super important. Everybody suffers from anxiety. Anxiety is the human condition, period. There's not a human being on earth who doesn't, quote unquote, suffer from anxiety. Um, Now, what differs from person to person is how we are able to deal with that anxiety. And, I was, for most of my life, I was not good at dealing with anxiety. Uh, but for, a lot of that time, I wasn't on antidepressants. I just, had kind of my own way of dealing with it, which was not, you know, as healthy as it could have been. Basically, and so what happens with anxiety when it gets, at least what happened for me, is the anxiety would get too big and it's scary. And then I would turn in on myself. I would hide from life to get away from the anxiety. And that hiding from life, that's depression. That's kind of my interpretation of how it happens. And if you do that enough, then like it's like anything, that becomes your habit.
Got it.
So at the end of the day, depression is a choice. Um, and that might be a threatening thing for some people to hear because what it means is that you have responsibility and for if you're depressed, it's your responsibility. It's not someone else's responsibility. And I think it's become very fashionable and it's easy to say, well, I have depression. Right? And so I'm going to take this pill or whatever. Like it's some external thing. At the end of the day, depression is the result of choices that we make for ourselves. And a lot of them can be subconscious, but it's the results of our own behavior. The good news about that is you can change it, right? And you might have to go through a lot of work to do that, which I did, but it is changeable. And I went from being someone who was told and who believed to some extent that I would never not need antidepressants. Like, during that 10-year period when I was taking them, I think for the most part, I thought I'll probably always take these. But I will say this is the subconscious part of it. There was a part of me that never really sat well with me. It was like, really? Like, I'm so defective that I need these things to just make it through life? Like that doesn't feel right. I don't want to accept that of myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
and so like there was always this part that was kind of searching for something better. And it took me 4 tries to get off antidepressants. And actually, the first time that I did it, it wasn't even my own choice. It was actually the psychiatrist, to his credit, it was the psychiatrist I was seeing at the time who recommended it because I'd been on them for like 5 or 6 years. And he's like, well, you've been doing the same thing for 5 or 6 years. Like, you have to vary it up to see if you actually need this stuff. And what would happen was, like the thing with these, drugs, with this medication, which is really, I mean, poison, quite frankly. But it is a drug, it is a narcotic. It gets into your system, and then if you stop, it takes time to get out of your system. It doesn't just, like, if you stop today, it's not out of your system tomorrow. It takes, weeks, I think, to really get out of your system. So what would happen would be I would be on these things, and then, like, I would stop, whether I would taper, or I think usually I would kind of taper, and then I would be off them. And I'd be off them for some period of time. And for a period of time, it was fine. And quite frankly, it was better because, for me, one of the side effects was I gained a lot of weight.
Hmm.
Right now, I weigh almost 200 pounds and I'm in very good shape. But at my heaviest on antidepressants, and I was not in very good shape, I was 235 pounds.
Okay.
Much different, much
Yeah.
different. And I have my own theories about why that happens, all that stuff. But, and I would lose all that weight, right? And that feels great. And then slowly but surely, the drug wears off, and the anxiety starts to creep back in. Because essentially, what they're called antidepressants, but really they're anti-anxiety. It stops the anxiety,
Okay.
what it does. And the anxiety would start to creep back in, and then it would get stronger and stronger. And before I know it, I'm white knuckling it, right? And this is terrifying. This is very scary. And the first time was the scariest, and it was completely unexpected because the thing is that, even though before I went on to medication, my anxiety, what do you call it? Like, regulating muscle was not, I do it like that, in the healthiest way that I could.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, I had that muscle, right? And as soon as you go on that medication, that muscle stops working because it doesn't have to work anymore. And so it completely atrophied over like 5 or 6 years. And then, so your ability to deal with anxiety, if you're not on medication, atrophies. And dealing with anxiety when that muscle has atrophied is terrible. So as soon as that anxiety comes back in, it's like it's torture. It's like physical torture. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Wow.
So anyway, if I'm going too deep in a direction, just let me know. I know. Anyway,
I appreciate it.
I didn't
I,
know this is stuff is coming out of me. So you wanted me to get personal on it, and I'm happy to do that. But Yeah, so you wanted to say something.
Oh, hey, no, I just wanted to let you know it's all good. The personal stuff behind it, on this show, I make sure I give the guest time to talk about, what's going on, brother. So,
Okay.
you're doing fine. I kind of get where it's coming from. If you don't mind, just in terms of time, I'd love to hear about, the change because,
Yeah.
what you went through. I think people are kind of getting an idea for it,
Right.
but you took all that and with some guidance from someone that you cared about a lot and who you respected. You really did change your own life.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a huge message that
Yeah.
you could take all this stuff that was going on with you and change all of it yourself, with a little bit of guidance there. And now you're coaching men on how to do this exact same thing.
Right.
So, did you take, like, is this your own experience that you've taken and kind of put into, coaching and whatnot, on how to help other guys with? Is that
Yeah.
where this kind of started, is from your journey?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I mean, it's my own experience. I am a certified professional life coach, so there are, kind of precepts to coaching
Hmm.
that, you can get an education in and you can get certified and it's legit and it's a good foundation. I have all that stuff. So it's not just me winging it. But so, and when you're a coach, your own personal experience just makes your coaching that much more powerful.
Yeah.
And having gone through what I've gone through, that it makes me passionate about helping other people in general, but men specifically, improve our own lives. And I think I've kind of figured out what it is that we need. And what I'll just boil it down to is you need to be like, as men, I don't know if it's the same for women or not, but as men, to be as happy as possible. I'll use the word happy. You can use fulfilled. You can use whatever you want. But to be as happy as possible, you need to be pushing yourself as hard as possible. And what I mean by that is not just like grinding 16 hours a day, just like working yourself to the bone, although it might look like that in certain cases. You need to combine that kind of hard work pushing with authenticity, right? Like the reason men or anybody has like a midlife crisis, kind of like I did, right? Is, maybe you work hard, maybe you're successful, maybe you have stuff. But if you're not connected with your own authenticity, then what's it called? Your ladder's leaning against the wrong wall, and you're going up, you're going up, you're going up, but you're not getting as much fulfillment from it as you
Yeah.
should, and it doesn't compute.
Right.
Because after like 20 years of doing that, you're like, hold on, I'm like 40, 45 years old. I've been working my butt off for 2 or 3 decades. And why am I not happier? And that's why, people have midlife crises because that's like a big thing. It's like, wait a second, what's happening? And so you need that combination of hard work and authenticity. And if you have those two things, and that doesn't always mean like not everybody is going to need to wholesale change their life like I did. It might be, you might be in a much healthier place mentally and emotionally than I was in, and you might just need like a 2% shift. That's totally, but over time, that 2%, right,
Right.
uh, makes a big difference. Um, so anyway, but like as I was saying to you about kind of when I moved to California, I made all these changes. Like this was the hardest thing that I ever done. And I wasn't like skipping down the street happy all the time. It was like really hard.
Yeah.
But the thing, I was still happier than I had been before because for the first time in my life, I knew that I was performing at like the peak of my potential in that moment. Like I was giving it all, is basically, happiness, I think, for men. And again, this might be all people, but I would say definitely for men is giving it all. Okay. And the
Yeah.
closer you are to giving it all in your life, the happier you're going to be. And that doesn't mean like you might be giving it all and you might be broke, or you might be going through a divorce, or you like it doesn't always mean your life is going to look fantastic. It does mean you're heading in the right direction as long as your intentions are good, right? And you're basically a decent, good person. But like you will know internally if you're real like if I'm pushing myself to the max of who I can be as a person today, that's there's no better feeling than that. And that's
Nice.
the feeling I wanted my whole life. And I never had it until, I hit my 40s and I finally started to experience it because of this woman. And I've just been building on that ever since.
So does your program target, men who are sort of in that age range group? I mean, who's the program for at its finest?
Yeah,
Certainly everybody can use it and probably get some gain, but
right.
when you made this program, who were you making it for?
Yeah, I think the most obvious person is going to be a man kind of between the ages of 40 and 60.
Okay.
Could be a little younger. But I just talk to more and more men in that age range who, maybe they've done a lot in their lives, but they're kind of drifting. There's a lot of men who are drifting.
Yeah.
And you might not like it's not like the homeless guy. It's not like obviously destitute or out of luck or whatever. It might be your next door neighbor who's got a nice house and but like if your kids are grown and they're out of the house or something like that, or maybe not everybody becomes the CEO of their company. Maybe you get stuck in middle management and you don't know how to get above that, and maybe you've always wanted to work for yourself but you're scared. All these types of things, right? Like we just drift because kind of like for me, like I was drifting for a long time, not so much because I thought everything was great, but I didn't know how to change. That was the thing that made it so painful. Like I was stuck in this life that I wasn't happy with, but I didn't know how to change it. I needed somebody from the outside to come in and give me perspective. And that's really what a coach does.
Sure.
Right? We give you a perspective that, you know, we're only human. We're not God. We can't see every side of things. And so, coach will give you perspective that you can't come up with yourself, and they'll help you come up with different perspectives, right? I mean, at the end of the
Nice.
day, and as a coach, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm good at asking questions, making observations, seeing patterns, seeing inconsistencies, communicating that to you, and helping you have insights based on that, and then making sure that you get into action based on those insights. That's essentially coaching.
Got it. So if somebody's going to be part of your program and they're going to be working with you, um, a lot of guys right now, you've made some very powerful statements, especially the one about, if you're depressed, it's on you, type of thing, which I agree with, frankly. But these are some powerful statements, and a lot of it boils down to accountability, for guys. Taking responsibility, taking that accountability. Your life is up to you, things like this. When it comes to the purpose, a lot of guys who are in this age range we're talking about, that I'm in, I'm guessing you're in that, is that our purpose we thought was one thing. Then through whatever happens with the world, we end up being disappointed by something. Our purpose ends up changing. Sometimes we just have no purpose left because we figure, well, we are where we are. So your program itself, is it based on like a physical nature? Is it a psychological thing? How do you work with guys to take accountability and find purpose?
I mean, basically, it's like this. We sit down one on one. We start to get to know each other. I know how to listen and ask questions, and pretty quickly, I can kind of get through the surface stuff to see the core of what's happening for you, and then and I will bring that up to you. I'll let you know what I think. And then, assuming you're willing to work with it, then that's kind of where we begin. And so, I mean, sessions are, 45 minutes. It's not like, and I think, if you're working with a coach, like twice a month is fine. Like you don't have to meet every every week. You certainly don't have to meet every day. Like, there should be time between the sessions for the stuff to sink in, for you to get into action around the plans that you make. But it's very much this type of conversation. You doing more talking than me asking questions in a way that opens you up and has you talk a lot. And one thing that's really amazing, um, and it's another thing I'll say, like I spent a lot of my life in my own head, and it took me a while to realize that, like, oh, these things that I say to myself in my own head, they're meant to be said to the world. I need to start saying this stuff out loud. This isn't just meant for me,
Right.
right? And so when we hear ourselves talk, not just in our heads, but out loud, that helps you get to know yourself. You will know yourself better if you hear yourself talk about what's happening inside of you. So that's why meeting with a coach, therapist is really useful, because you don't actually know yourself as well as you think you do. But if you start to say out loud a lot of the things that are in your head, then and you do that consistently over time, you'll really get to know yourself a lot better.
Nice.
So providing a place for people to do that is super valuable.
So you do group coaching, one-on-one, let people know kind of what to expect if
Yeah.
they're going to
So
contact you about this stuff.
absolutely. Mostly it's been one-on-one to date, and that'll always be a portion of it, but we're doing more. I've certainly have done group coaching, and we can do group coaching if somebody needs that. We're also looking into doing retreats for men, like weekend-long retreats. I think I might have mentioned to you before we started, like one area I want to focus on is military or ex-military veterans. I mean, like you don't have to go very far to hear a story about a veteran who's having a tough time psychologically or whatever because of what they've seen, what they've done, what's been done to them. It doesn't, it sounds like there's a lot of, and I'm sure there are wonderful people in the VA and in the government, but sounds like there's a lot of instances where people aren't getting good care or treatment or whatever, and people might not even know what somebody needs. I think there is also an over reliance on medication, certainly for veterans as well as for everybody. And I think we would be a better country if we start to take that reliance back on ourselves as opposed to giving it to medication and looking for pills to help us be the people we want to be, because they won't. So anyway, yeah,
Nice. All right. No, you made your positions known in a couple of these things today. I'm glad, because if someone's going to coach me, then I want them to have those attitudes, so, and to stand strong in those things. So I'm glad that you feel the way you do, and that you're willing to say it out loud. Not everybody is. So, power to you, man. I like that. Now you've got a website which has a whole bunch of this stuff on it. Tell everybody what the website is and tell them what they can expect to find on the website.
yeah. Website is forwardmotioncoach.ing. So forward motion coaching, and you'll find a little bit about my story, just the types of coaching that I do. You'll be able to click a link and set a meeting with me. Essentially, my first meeting is always complimentary, and it's roughly 40 minutes, and we're just getting to know each other. I'll tell you a little bit about what coaching is, maybe what it isn't. I'll do some coaching, so you'll see a bit of how I work, and then from there we can make arrangements to work together. I typically like to set people up with a package, meaning like minimum, 3 months of working together. That way, I mean, if you're going to go into coaching, you're really not going to get anything out of one set. I mean, you might get something if you have just one session, but the key to any kind of change is consistency. And so you should really go into it prepared to have a relationship. And so I feel like if you at least start with 3 months, call it 6 sessions, that at least allows you to really start to feel what coaching can do for you.
Awesome. All right. Good deal. All right, man. Listen, I love what you're doing, and I'm I'm glad to put it out there for you. So give them the website one more time. It's forward
Motioncoach.ing.
ing, right? Forwardmotioncoach.ing. And that'll be in the show notes too. But just in case somebody's driving down the road and they wanted to hear it again, I want to make sure we're getting it to them. What's the best way to contact you if they want to talk to you directly? Is it through the website also, or is
Yeah.
it through socials, or what?
Through the website, and then I post a lot on social media. I do have a YouTube channel, which is at Maxim Shapiro. Name of the channel is also Forward Motion, but I think at Forward Motion was taken, so it's just at Maxim Shapiro, and I post a lot of videos there. Basically, I post a video every day on Facebook, and multiple times a week we're posting on LinkedIn as well, both videos and just kind of static content. I also have a commercial real estate finance business, so I post about that in LinkedIn as well. So you'll see a variety of posts from me. But yeah, like I just talk about my own kind of observations. It's some of it is coaching related. It's not all coaching related. I just kind of let people know what's happening with me internally, and hopefully there's something useful for them in it. So yeah, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's at Maxim Shapiro.
Nice. Nice. All right. You're, as we kind of wrap things up here, you are talking to, a podcast that gets to a lot of folks, and 85% of them are men. Of that 85%, about 75% are husbands and fathers. And I would say an awful lot of our folks fall in that demographic that you're talking about right now. So as we kind of wrap things up, is there anything I didn't ask you? Is there anything that we talked about that you want to make sure you double down on for these guys who are, the folks that you're here to help? Or maybe a leave behind, or a piece of advice or something for those same guys who, are looking for purpose, who are, trying to take accountability but could use some help. Maybe they're just sort of drifting through life like you've talked about.
Yep.
Anything you want to say to those folks? The floor is yours for the last couple minutes, brother. Go for it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, the first thing I'll say is to the other 15% that are not men, you probably have men in your life that you would like to see more out of. And so obviously feel free to direct them my way or help them in any way that you can because they need it. And to men, first of all, like I know to a certain extent what you're going through, and whatever you're going through, it can get better. And the best thing you can do for yourself is to like the best thing we can do for ourselves as people is to take as much responsibility for our own lives as possible. Right? The more we blame other people or life or God or whatever, like we just increase our own suffering, right? Like the path out of suffering is through taking responsibility for ourselves. And I really find this to be true. Like if there's something lacking in my life, like if I'm thinking about my relationship and I'm like, well, I want there to be more intimacy in my relationship. It's on me to bring that intimacy to the, it's not about like sitting down with my wife or girlfriend or whatever and having a conversation about how are we going to bring more intimacy. No, just start bringing more intimacy into the relationship, right? And you might not know how to do that. So that's where you ask for help from other people. But it's on us to embody the qualities that we feel are missing in our life. I find that to be true just pretty much without fail, right? And it's such an empowering thing when you can look at some aspect of your life and think, well, I want more of this. And then when you're able to see yourself create that, that's an unbelievably empowering thing. Um, and then the other thing is like all of this, like if you knew me 8 years ago, 10 years ago, like, first of all, I don't think you would have liked me as much as you hopefully will like me today. And certainly I didn't like myself as much as I like myself today, right? And you would see two completely different people. And now I didn't make those changes. I made those changes. And at the end of the day, it's down to me to make those changes. But I didn't do this alone, right? I had help. And I've talked about the person who probably helped me the most, but she wasn't the only person who helped me. It just started a cycle, and I started getting better at looking for help. And now, part of, I think, just rising through life and getting better in all areas is getting better at looking and asking for help. So like that's a huge thing. And the more successful I become, the more confident I become, the better I become at asking for help because I'm more able to I'm getting more proactive at seeing my own shortcomings and looking for help in addressing those things.
Great way to wrap us up, man. Absolutely. Great closing. Love it. Folks, men's action life coach, Maxim Shapiro. All these stuff's going to be in the show notes, all the contact info, everything. If you are, if you're lost at sea, man, you need some help to find the shore. So give Maxim a holler, reach out to the website and, see what you guys can do and put it together. Maxim, brother, thank you for coming on for talking about your story, sharing that with everybody else. I'm sure somebody else out there heard that and can identify with it, and I think you helped probably more than a few people today. So I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's a great opportunity for everybody. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. Folks, that's another episode of the Power of Man podcast. Uh, the reason that we bring such powerful people on here with these powerful messages is because we are united in, hoping that you regain your power so that you can become a better provider, a better protector, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can become a better father, better husband, a better man than you are tomorrow, than you are today. And gentlemen, the reason that we want that for you is because you have value. It's because you matter, and it's because you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.